Working with live technology. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us with this Mikey webinar, where we're going to talk about adding password management and 2FA into your MSP's offering. We know that this is a big deal. It's obviously something that's being spoken about all the time. So hopefully we can give you an understanding about how you can offer that into your portfolio. Before we get going, I'll set the scene a little and explain who's on the call. So this is me. My name is Chris Tate, and I'm the Strategic Alliances Director for Myki. My role here is to work within the Myki organization to sort of help MSPs grow and understand the kind of solutions that we have to offer. I'm also joined on the call by a colleague of mine, Mr. Rob McGrath, who is the Sales Enablement Engineer for Myki. And I'll let Rob introduce himself now.
Hi everyone, my name is Rob McGrath. I am the Sales Enablement Engineer here at Myki, and I spend a lot of time working with many of your peers, just helping them get the best out of password management through Myki. I actually have joined Myki from an MSP in my area, and what really inspired me to look for, look to work with a team like Mikey was really seeing the unique solution they had offered. Specifically for me was the 2FA, the shareable 2FA aspect of Mikey, and especially at the headaches that I experienced as an MSP tech dealing with the Office 365 accounts. That 2FA enabled it. Good luck trying to figure out how to share that with your team. But all in all, though, when I came across Mikey as a company, I just saw a really great product and just a really energetic and agile and intelligent team, and I just wanted to join them, and it became kind of a passion for me, just helping MSPs get tools like password management into their repertoire to be able to offer to their customers, because password management is a very, very big deal nowadays.
Awesome, thank you, Rob. And with everything that's going wrong today on the webinar, you were pleased to know that Rob is going to attempt a live demonstration. So strap yourselves in for that one, because it all seems to be going slightly wrong. But a little about Myki. Let's just start at the beginning. Myki was founded as a password management company for end users ultimately. And what happened was MSPs began to speak to Myki and say, this is great, but have you got an offering that is something that we can offer to our clients? And that's when Myki for MSP was born, officially launched at DattoCon Paris towards the back end of last year. But we've made sort of huge progress in creating a password management solution, sort of really tailored for MSPs. So hopefully what we can show you today is really going to sort of demonstrate the progress that we're making. You're seeing this in the news all the time, the threat landscape. Passwords are being compromised left, right, and center. So you're seeing this in the trade press, but your users are saying it as well in the kind of mainstream media. It's being covered in the mainstream news. We've all seen the stuff around Zoom and this kind of thing. So it's really popular news. Your customers will probably be approaching you and asking about password management. So if you're not offering it, then why aren't you offering it? That kind of question. Another problem with passwords in general is that we're asking users to create more and more of them, remember more and more of them, make them more and more complicated. And obviously the human mind isn't designed to remember these kind of passwords. So what they're doing is they're either reusing them, which is kind of creating a huge problem with credential stuffing, or they're writing them down on a piece of paper, or worst case, they're kind of storing them in a plain text notepad document on their desktop. So we're asking users to kind of be more aware of passwords, but we're not giving them the tools to help them deal with it. So again, this is what's really sort of fueling this fire and helping the bad guys create all of this malware that's especially at the minute around COVID, to sort of go after to try and create phishing attacks for the users. And also MSPs themselves, MSPs, I'm from an MSP background also, and MSPs are also now becoming a target. You guys have got kind of the keys to the kingdom. You control a whole host of credentials for your customers. So you're being attacked by the bad guys too. And so that's why MSPs need to put their cybersecurity in place before starting to look at clients. It's an end-to-end solution. So you see a few articles there, one of which is from the National Cybersecurity Centre in the UK, saying that global targeting of enterprises is a kind of major metric now, is via managed service providers. So as managed service providers become more successful and are becoming bigger and better, as you guys are, what's happening is you're raised your head above the kind of parapet a little, and you're now on the radar of the bad guys. So whilst it's extremely important that we help protect your end users, it's also really important that you protect yourself within your MSP business. And this is where Mikey can help. We think we've got a solution which Rob's going to show us you any second now, which kind of demonstrates how it works, but we're different to other password providers in that we are tailor-made to work within the MSP community. We're going to talk on this call about the integrations. We play nicely within the MSP ecosystem. We're at the MSP events. We're sort of trying to ensure a product that you, the MSPs, can trust to use internally and also offer to your clients. So I'm sure you've got lots of questions, so we're going to take questions at the end. If you had any come up, you can put them into the Ask a Question window at the bottom, and then what we'll do is we'll run through them at the end. But with that, I'll hand over to Rob, who can give us an overview and a demonstration.
Hello, I am back. So as you guys may have seen, many of you may have already been introduced to Mikey. I'll do a quick overview and just to give you a snapshot of really what Mikey's all about. And really what Mikey is focused on, we have three main apps. We have our desktop app, we have our mobile apps, and we have our browser extension, which helps us interact with everything basically on the web. So what you're currently looking at is our desktop app, and this is pretty much where the magic happens. This is where you would actually see the passwords assigned to you. You can have payment cards, secure notes, all that, all the typical things you'd have to use in an MSP, you would be able to have shared with you there. Now, as an MSP, you have access to the Msp portal, and in this, you basically are at the helm of mission control, where you can have both an internal password manager and also have basically a product to offer to your managed companies and your customers that trust you and your judgment and what you offer to them as a product. So very first thing you'll notice is if you are familiar with how Microsoft offers you as a CSP the overview of your tenants and being able to switch quickly between which companies you have. I don't have any companies yet. This is a brand new instance. So what I'm looking at right now is at the MSP level. As an MSP, you have all the bells and whistles that Mikey has to offer you. So you can store your passwords in here. We just recently added a dedicated 2FA section, so you can actually store 2FAs, attach them to passwords, and readily share them with your team in a safe and secure and encrypted fashion. So you don't have to worry about the headaches of having 2FA enabled on these very powerful, typically very powerful cloud admin accounts, and also and any other kind of global admin account. Anything with a token attached to it is traditionally very difficult to share, but with Mikey and our intuitive MSP portal, you can actually share them with many users in a safe and secure fashion. You can store company credit cards in here, have secure notes just to save those extra little bits of secure text that you want to be able to get out to many users. Msp users, these are your internal users. This is where you would actually add your employees from your MSP, your help desk, your admins, your office staff, whoever else may be part of your company. And the managed companies is where you would actually manage your tenant. And I'm going to show you guys how to bring over some of those coming up very soon. Now, just for, when it comes to setting up your MSP, for those of you who have not seen this, we do have groups and folders. Groups are for organizing people, so you can quickly and easily onboard a new employee and get them the correct access to the credentials that they need to get their job done. And also item folders, which this is a good way to organize your passwords to quickly assign them to the users that need them the most. Msp policies, we have a good list of policies that allow you to secure Mikey even better while basically creating conditional access for these credentials. So you can have a location-based policy, which would have a geofence. You can create a geofence in this area. So anything outside of this area of Times Square would be considered, out of compliance, and they would not be able to access credentials. Time-based policy, which is almost identical to how Active Directory handles your time. You have an IP address-based policy, which can enforce, you can set for multiple IPs. So if you set an IP address for a home office or another office, you can have multiple IP addresses for different locations. And as long as one of those addresses is met by the device that the person is using, they can access Mikey. We have a reporting suite, so you can have analytics analyzing how Mikey's being used in both your MSP and your company's security dashboard, which will show you a breakdown of the strengths and weaknesses of your passwords. Msp audit log shows cloud activity, Company auto log, same thing. And real-time dashboard will give you a good snapshot of really where you are, where your credentials are being used. The breach monitor is one of our newer additions to our portal, which we actually purchase data from the dark web and allow you guys to scan your passwords against our data to see if something has been compromised in your portal, and allow you to quickly remedy that and track down things that have been probably breached, which many credentials have been breached in the hundreds of millions of, of pieces of data that have been dumped out on the dark web and are out there for a couple cents. And really the biggest aspect of Mikey and for MSPs really is how we integrate with a lot of the tools you guys are already using in your MSP and your daily lives as an MSP. In my MSP, we actually used IT Glue regularly. We also had Continuum, and those are two of the things that we actually integrate with. But yeah, you can really integrate with many of these and bring over your data and import a lot of the setup that you've already done, so we don't make you do double the work. And from here, I'm going to quickly show you how to actually set up an IT Glue instance. So I've already populated my IT Glue API key. This can be found, and you can follow our knowledge base articles if you have more questions with that. But with basically, you get that API key, you connect it to your account, and then you are then able to connect your Mikey instance to the IT Glue instance to quickly and easily pull data down from IT Glue into your Mikey. So I'm going to quickly import my companies from IT Glue. And let's say I want to bring over just some customers. So these are the people that currently exist in my IT Glue instance. And the one I'm going to be working with today is Joe's Coffee Shop, because everybody loves Joe's Coffee Shop. Now, that is one way. Now, this has also created for me several managed companies. So these are now technically my customers, and they're all brought over. You notice that they have no users in them, and I can quickly and easily start adding passwords to it. I also have an easy way to switch between companies up here in the top right corner. And going back to what we had just seen before, when you first sign into the enterprise portal, it will pull up basically a single pane view of your managed companies. Sorry, my virtual machine is running really slowly today. There we go. So now all my companies are in there. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can also connect my Autotask instance to this, because one thing that is very, very painful as an MSP to handle is billing. Sometimes billing, and obviously you guys are a business and you need to collect, and collect money that your customers would owe you. And the very, very difficult thing to do is to track how much money is supposed to be paid to you, simply because manual billing is the bane of many MSPs' existences. So what you can do is I've gone in and I've set up my Autotask integration. You have to go through a series of steps to actually get Autotask and Mikey communicating. But now I can actually map, for instance, Joe's Coffee. Joe's Coffee Shop exists in my Autotask, and now I have these two companies connected. So if I wanted to, I can even switch on billing. I can choose an existing service in Autotask. And from here, I can quickly select, okay, this is considered to be a managed service. I can set the cost, so it costs me $3 and whatever cents. Let's say that, and then the price would be about $5. And I could bump this up. Let's say I want to set that at whatever amount I want to do. Click save. I actually did not set it, but I can actually set this up for Joe's Coffee and immediately basically have it so their license costs and their pricing costs all get factored in automatically. So I'm not there stuck going through, oh, did I add a license on, the 15th or the 16th? Oh, was it, how many licenses do they have this month as compared to last month? You're not doing that. We do all the hard work for you, and it just goes through without you having to think about it. Now, we do have similar offerings for ConnectWise Manage. And the best part about Mikey is with this list that you guys see here, if you have a tool that isn't listed here, we are constantly developing and constantly working on essentially becoming the best Mikey, the best password manager product available for you guys as MSPs. So if you see a particular PSA or RMM tool or anything else that you'd like for us to integrate with, and you're like, you know what, I don't see my product on there, I'm not sure, don't hesitate to reach out to either our sales team or even through us to us in the support chat, because our goal is to meet you guys where you guys are at, and we will, we'll never know if if there's a product that we're missing that you guys are really finding it to be important for you and your business, then if we don't know about it. So do not hesitate to reach out. You can even reach out to me personally. I'll be more than happy to get to the right people, because we are constantly working to improve the end user's experience and also just the MSP's ability to use this in their daily lives for that. Now, one important aspect of Mikey is, yes, it's great to bring over your customers, but for the average daily life, obviously as an MSP, you want to use this product in your basically to get your techs to be able to manage your endpoints, manage your customers, manage these secure accounts. And we have several tools involved in that. So for instance, I would like to, like in this case, I have ConnectOS control going to this virtual machine. So traditionally it's very difficult. Whoa, sorry. Very difficult to be able to track this kind of stuff. So let me lock this. And one of the RMMs, we currently work with is ConnectOS control, and I can use a very handy dandy tool called Myki Mini. This brings up basically a browser. It's almost like a browser extension for the operating system. And I can quickly go over and I'll pull up this for this particular workstation, the username and password. It'll autofill it into it. I just press enter, and I just was able to use a password manager with my RMM tool right there. Now that's great. It's fine for internal use, but how in the world do you take all these nice tools and package it to your customers? So in that process of us just integrating with IT Glue, I created several companies. Now, these companies, as an MSP, you'll notice that they do not have any licenses assigned to them. It's 0 out of 0. So you as an MSP can bring over all of your customers technically, have them all set up, pre-stage them, get them up and running for your own internal usage of storing passwords for instance, Joe's Coffee Shop in here, and making it so you are ready to use it for your internal management. But let's say the very famous Joe comes over and says, you know what, we need a password manager. I'm nervous about this data breach that I just happened to my buddy's company. I really need an option for that. You're like, you know what, that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and manage that. So in here, you can see very easily add and remove licenses. We have a system of a giant pool for you as an MSP that you can then divvy up those licenses to your managed companies as you see fit. There's no crazy convoluted system to go in, request licenses, provision them, do anything like that to your account. There's no delay. It's instant. You just add and remove licenses for these companies. I'm going to go ahead and manage, go into his vault. And what's also unique about Mikey is this is their vault. This is their environment. It is a completely blank slate for them. They do not have anything from the MSP down. They're not going to inherit any kind of weird data that may have existed in another instance. Sister and brother companies in your MSP bubble, they will not interact with each other. So you're not going to have to worry about, okay, how do I separate and make sure the data from this sandbox company or my new company doesn't interact with Joe's Coffee Shop. And in this case, it's all essentially isolated, and they're all encrypted with their own unique keys to keep your data safe. So let's go ahead and go to the integrations, and I'm going to go ahead and map this one. So Joe's Coffee Shop. This is actually directly communicating, as this is Joe's Coffee Shop that I imported. This is directly communicating with the passwords and the information in IT Glue that is saved for Joe's Coffee Shop. And you'll notice since I imported from IT Glue, it automatically mapped all those companies. So the legwork's largely done. Now I just have to tell Mikey what data to bring over. So let's go ahead and go to import passwords. I'll select IT Glue. And straight away, you'll see all the passwords that were found in IT Glue are detected and mapped and created in Mikey instantly. So I can also write from this single import process. I can say, you know what, this is going to be for admins or MSP users. So admin passwords. And I want these passwords only to be available Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Why not? So it's in that folder. It has that security policy. Fantastic. So now I have these 5 passwords. I already got Joe's Coffee up and running in here. Now me as an MSP user, there I am. Let's say I want to make a group for my MSP user. So as they come into the company, I can say I'm going to add myself immediately. Now before I do the actual assignment, in this now I see all the companies that I just created. So they're their own. Basically, I have access to the vaults I have created. Joe's Coffee. Oh no, it's empty. Well, that's because I haven't actually assigned anything. So now if I go ahead and go to MSP admins, go to folder access, admin passwords, I'll click save. And now these passwords show up in my apps. Now you may notice I had a hide password option here, and by default, Mikey tries to protect these passwords as much as possible. So when you bring in these passwords, and let's say you onboard 200 passwords for a company, they will come in and they will by default have the least restriction, the least permissions possible. And if we never assume, it's supposed to go to this XYZ person, and you at that point would be able to grant access to that. So let's say MSP admins, they should be able to see these passwords. So I'm going to set that to show. Click save, and now these passwords are all visible for me. So now as an MSP admin, I can quickly and easily go ahead and these passwords cracked me up. I just saw some of them. Now I can quickly and easily access these passwords as an MSP tech. However, let's say I start onboarding new users. How in the world would I do that? So if I go to the users section here, I'm in Joe's Coffee. I can quickly and easily bring over users from any one of these services. Now, I may not have good users to bring over from IT Glue, but if you have existing users in Autotask or IT Glue, or if you have an instance of Azure AD or Google for Work, or if it's just a good old-fashioned CSV file, we're able to immediately create invites to join all these users into this managed company. And at that point, you can essentially deploy Mikey to that company as a whole within seconds. So instantly all the users would show up here, show up as pending invites, and they would then be part of Joe's Coffee in Mikey. Now, what's a very common question as an MSP is, well, what about my users? Because traditionally password managers, you have to pay in order to touch it at all. You have to pay for a dedicated seat on a monthly basis, or actually usually it's on an annual basis. So you have to prepay for a year for one single seat that may or may not be used by you as an MSP or your techs. So going back to the top view here, you'll see at my managed companies, I can go to Joe's Coffee, and I have this users access tab. Now, if I had a whole team, so let's say I have this, Mikey demo account here. If I assign Mike to this managed company, he now will have access to Joe's Coffee Shop, and they'll be able to get into Joe's Coffee Shop be assigned passwords and get into their portal. So I'll go into Joe's Coffee Shop, and now that my help desk guy has been invited, I can quickly and easily share all the same passwords directly to him. Since now he's part of this group, boom, he's going to have the exact same passwords as me. Now, also, that does include the 2FA tokens attached to them. So perfect example. So I'll go back to mine because I know I have a 2FA saved in this account. This is my global admin account for Office 365. This is a perfect example of an account with 2FA enabled and shared, but everybody who has access to this account, either through a folder, direct access, or assigned to a group, this token shows up for all of them, which is a far and away a huge improvement from the everyday help desk experience of screaming down the hallway to figure out who has the correct authenticator key, or coming up with a very interesting kludge. My MSP, we created a VoIP line, set it up as to receive SMS, converted that to an email, and God help you if any part of that 8-step process broke, you'd be stuck there waiting, wondering what happened to that token for 30-45 minutes trying to figure out what part broke. And that's a huge headache. And thankfully with Mikey, we can quickly eradicate that by making it very easy to share these passwords. So now we have two MSP users in here. And because this guy is an MSP user and he was added from the top down, he did not consume an additional license. So if I have 10 MSP techs in my team and I have, 100 companies, I'm not going to run into an issue where I'm consuming 1,000 licenses just for me as an MSP to switch quickly between these companies and trying to help my techs just get their job done. Like, we're not in the business of trying to do that for you. We're not trying to nickel and dime you for every little instance and how much you're using it. Our goal is to give you that single seat and you're using it to go across these multiple companies. And really the only time it's actually going to start consuming licenses again is if you bring over these internal users. Every user functions as a seat, and that's where the license would actually be consumed. So all in all, Mikey, our goal is to make your lives easier. Our goal is to make it as easy and as accessible to use our product, and make it not make it punitive for you to add licenses, to make it a very convoluted system, and also make you pay exorbitant amounts of money to onboard a new company. When, as an MSP, we know and I know that you don't bill annually from 99.9% of what you do as an MSP, but many services will charge you an annual fee. Oh, sorry. It sounds like my headset died for a second. But with Mikey and basically how our licenses are handled, it is definitely a far cry better than many of the other solutions that happen to be out there. And all in all, though, with our ultimate goal is just to meet you guys wherever you are. And if you have any questions or requests or really anything, if you're just looking how in the world to tackle this, because really password management is not traditionally a thing that many MSPs have been equipped to handle, and it's definitely a growing need for many customers that they have out there, and even MSPs I don't think quite realize how vulnerable they are. And in fact, in many of my onboarding calls, I have MSPs who are considering password management oftentimes a little bit too late. One of them had a couple of weeks ago had reported to me that they had experienced essentially they were logging in one day and they discovered that their system had been hacked, and they had what they viewed as a very secure password. It was 64 plus characters of randomly generated password fun that no human will ever remember. But the fun part was it actually was compromised because it did not have 2FA, and it did not have 2FA because it's so miserable to share a global admin account with 2FA. So all in all, Mikey thankfully is able to meet you guys where you are with that, because that's a very difficult situation to kind of figure out, and especially with Microsoft essentially laying the hammer down and making us enable 2FA for many of these accounts. That is probably one of the most important things out that, and also really customers are asking for it. Most people's as Chris was saying, the human brain is not designed to handle passwords, and most people, and I've been the guy doing the password resets on the phone saying, okay, your password's been reset. We reset it to password 123, and of course the person, all they do is when they update that password, they just make it password 123 with an exclamation point. And then 90 days when the password expires, they do password 123 with 2 exclamation points. And that cycle continues until one day, all of a sudden, they realize that somebody has been sending emails on their behalf for several years, and their data has been on the dark web for months. So all in all, though, the password management is becoming increasingly more important, and many people are asking MSPs, what do you recommend? And either the solution's just not there, it's not very user friendly, or it's something that is just not at all MSP minded, so it does not make any sense to be able to offer to your customers at all. Because what's the value of reselling something if you can't have any kind of margin, and the management side of it from an admin is very, very painful. So all in all, though, the Mikey MSP experience is, we're constantly working to improve, constantly working to address any concerns or get essentially adapt to the marketplace, but also offer you some things that you never knew you even wanted, and also you never knew were even possible. And it's a very ingenious kind of solution of offering both a hybrid, both an offline and online solution where everything is data-wise stored offline, but the convenience of being able to sync across multiple devices is huge. It's huge for an MSP, it's huge for distributed teams, and we believe it'll be huge for your customers as well. Chris, I believe that'll be I don't know if you had anything to add.
that was really useful. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, if you can stay on the line, because we've got a bunch of questions coming, and maybe some of which you can demonstrate or talk through. The first question I can answer, which is the straightforward one about, is this webinar recorded and available to be rewatched? Yes, absolutely it is. The same link that you used to jump on, that will turn into a recording afterwards, so you can just go on and check it out again at your leisure. So that's the simple question out of the way. More complex questions, I guess. I think you've probably shown this, but these two are related. The first one is, do you integrate with Screen Connect or ConnectWise Control? Is that right now? And do you have an integration with Datto RMM?
So the second part I'll answer because it's a quicker answer. I believe we're currently working on that. I would have to look into the progress of that, but I believe we're working out that, and we're constantly, again, the list of products that we're integrating with is definitely constantly growing. It'll never shrink. So we're definitely working to integrate with basically all products that you guys use. So if it's not on our roadmap, if it's not on that list now, don't be afraid to ask, and I'll be more than willing to look at it and see if we have a more concrete date to give you. Regarding ConnectWise Control, yes, that's actually what I had shown right before that, and I believe my window had minimized. Yep. So what we offer is not a direct baked-in integration with ConnectWise Control. It is a Mikey Mini is essentially a standalone app, and it's kind of our baby product, to be honest. It's one of the newer ones that we have. So this is actually, what you see here is a snapshot of like my actual my Mikey for my instance. So I'll do, let's see, demo. There we go. So this is actually essentially a free floating window that pops up, and I can use this across really anything on my operating system. It does work directly with ConnectWise Control. The keyboard shortcut to bring it up is Control-Shift apostrophe if you have Mikey already installed on your desktop. And what this allows you to do is we emulate keystrokes and allow you to put the username and password directly into whatever field you would actually see. So if I'm going to go ahead and lock this desktop, and let's say I want to log back into this, I'll bring up my ConnectWise Control window. It's kind of confusing because it looks exactly the same, but now this is ConnectWise. This is Screen Connect, sorry. And when I'm going to go ahead and do Mikey Mini, I can go over here and I can either do both username and password. So if I press enter here, it will dump in both the username, it will press tab, and then go to the, so that would then in effect bring it to the next field and then dump in the password. But in this case, I'm just going to use the password since I'm still logged in. It dumped it in, as you see right there. I have a very complex password for this instance. And then 1, 2, 3. I'm in. So that's how we would interact with. Now, the benefit of this is you can use Mikey Mini not only with RMM solutions, you can use it with pesky things that, like, for instance, like an HTML authentication window that pops up, which is very common in networking hardware, that you just simply can't touch it with, JavaScript or CSS or HTML and CSS, just like a password manager. It does also work with things like PuTTY sessions if you're jumping into a Linux server, if you're doing anything with RDP session, if you're just directly connecting via IP, or if you just want to be lazy and, like, for instance, if I want to jump into Discord or Spotify or any of these desktop apps that traditionally don't let you touch password management, touch password fields with the password manager, you can bring it up, simply select the credentials, and I'll say, say I'm going to play some games or whatever with my brother. There we go. I can log in directly into Battle.net right there. Or Discord, I can get into the chats. Or Spotify, which Spotify is all split up. But all these different accounts, I can quickly search through and also pull up my 2FA tokens, which is a huge pain to have to track down your phone if you have it set up. If you have any other kind of app set up. But with Mikey, it's directly baked into the app.
Cool, thank you. That was useful. Another one which is related to sync was around the IT glue sync that you showed, which was really useful. A question that's coming is around is that a one-way or two-way sync?
So currently it is a one-way import. So we pull the data from IT Glue. We are actively working on a two-way integration with them. So essentially, down the road, when we go live with a two-way sync, it will allow you to make a change on Mikey, and it will automatically push it back up. So like you saw that I brought over those passwords directly from IT Glue. If I was to update the domain admin password on Mikey, it will then populate back to IT Glue. Now, in the meantime, if you are currently using Mikey and you don't have, and you have IT Glue, the API key already set up, once that goes live, you'll be able to select which data you want to keep and treat as like the main data source, and you can then overwrite or merge or do any of the other kind of manipulation of the data if because there obviously will be differences as you make changes over time. But in the meantime, yes, it is a one-way import, but we are working very hard to get two-way sync up and running.
Cool, excellent. Right, the next one I can quickly answer, which is regarding trials and NFR licenses. Absolutely, we offer trials for your MSP to use to get up to speed with it. So following this, we'll kind of send an email out and you can speak to someone to get that set up. But we know that being an MSP, you need to test and try that, and we can make that happen for you. Probably one for you, Rob, is what would you say is the most efficient way to help train new end users to use Mikey?
Well, first and foremost, we have a knowledge base. So if you go to our support.myki.com, let me pull that up for you real quick. We have a knowledge base, so you can quickly go through articles for that. I know we have videos on YouTube. I'm personally working on a lot of how-tos and direct walkthroughs of everything you would go through that. So not only would it be helpful for your MSP users and internal users, but also I'm working on making very generic kind of onboarding experience for the end users. A lot of it is also pretty straightforward. So here it is, sorry. So yeah, we have our help desk, and so we have lots and lots of articles under here. So getting started with Mikey, and we have many articles with that. And first and foremost, I would say the most accessible way is directly with us. So you have our chat right there. I am, active in the chat as well. We have a support team in there, and if there's ever kind of a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Feel free to ask us, and we are very, very friendly, and we'll be more than happy to speak with you and get you up and running.
Okay, another question just come in. Are Snapshot backups available for MSPs in case they need to revert back to a previous point in time?
Yes. So backups, obviously, since this is locally hosted, backups are constantly happening. You as an admin will function as a backup and syncing node for wherever you are an admin of. So you will only back up the stuff that, like, for instance, I'm an admin of both. In this instance, I'm an admin of, I'm still in Joe's Coffee, sorry. I'm currently an admin of all of these managed companies since I created them. But that being said, I will function as a backup for their database. That doesn't necessarily mean I see all their passwords at all times. It's not dumped into my app, but really I function as a data point for that. So I can then, if let's say somebody nukes all of their stuff, I can restore back. There also is like a less painful way. Let's say that somebody had accidentally, destroyed all their passwords, and there's an archive in here. And additionally, passwords also have a password history. So if I change this password from this crazy gibberish that we generated, okay, yeah, I'm spazzing out my computer, but this now will have a password history. So if I go back to here, I can now see that was previously set up. But again, the backups, they are by default located in app data roaming. I do recommend kind of mapping it to somewhere a little more redundant than that. Also, it's important to know that your devices function as essentially a restore, like it's capable of restoring access back to another device. So let's say, in this case, on this machine, in this account, I only have one device, but on my personal Mikey account, I have, my phone, I have my laptop, I have my desktop, I have multiple partitions and a couple virtual machines. So all of them technically could function as a restoring device for other ones, and that would allow me to quickly and easily, if all my computers got stolen, I buy a new laptop, go out, download Mikey, scan the QR code, and boom, I'm back up and running. So yes, all in all, there are multiple ways to get your data back, and also multiple ways to keep it safe from just human error or disaster in general.
Cool, thank you very much. We're just about out of time, so I wanted to quickly just cover a couple of very quick things before we go. One of which was a question that's come up 2 or 3 times actually around Synchro MSP and our integration with billing with that. It's something that we are looking at, and we are kind of speaking to them, and that's something that fits into the wider sort of MSP ecosystem that we discussed at the very start. So if there are any integrations that you think would be important or could be beneficial for us, then my contact details are on at the end. Please just reach out, give me a shout and say what you're doing with integrating with this, because we want to try and work with all of the tools you do. So quickly before we go, I just wanted to quickly recap about why we think MSPs should choose Mikey. Firstly, it's MSP first. That's kind of how we're born. Everything we do is for MSPs. We think they're a high margin approach. So it's not only a service that you can offer to your clients, you can make additional revenue, additional monthly recurring revenue within your MSP for offering this. It fits into your security portfolio. As Rob mentioned, the chat is incredibly successful. We get really high reviews when it comes to the chat. Sales and marketing partner. One of the questions that came through actually that we didn't get time to answer was regarding our sales and marketing. We can produce collateral and make it easy for you as the MSP to market to your customers. So we will help create campaigns, collateral, PowerPoint decks, all the things that you need to help you to sell the solution to your end user. So we think we're a powerful sales and marketing partner, and we're here to stay. We've chosen the MSP market as our primary route to market, and we think that that is the way that we're going to be successful. So that's not going to change anytime soon. So we think that those sort of 6 reasons for why we think we're in a good spot. Any questions that came up that we didn't have time to answer, please drop me an email to chris@myki.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to answer any additional questions. As I mentioned before, the recording will be available straight after this that you can review and have another look at. If you want to arrange a demo, there's a button to click now, and then that will give you a demonstration where someone can jump on a call with you and give you a more in-depth demo and maybe talk a little bit more about the specific integration questions that you've got. But that's that. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for your time in the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We do really appreciate it. So thanks for your time. Thanks again to Rob, and we shall speak to you soon. Goodbye.